Want to learn how to roast the green coffee sample that you receive from the producer or the coffee importer? Join me in the next episode of Green Coffee Buyer, coming up next. Hey everyone, I'm Jay and welcome to another episode of the Green Coffee Buyer, where we show you how to evaluate green coffee samples and how you can decide on which coffee to buy. In this episode, we're going to be moving on to roasting the actual coffee samples that we received from genuine origin. Just to recap, this is an Arabica coffee with the Caturra and Catuai varietals from the Cordillera del Fuego farm in Costa Rica. This is a special coffee using the new Termico process that's being pioneered by Don Luis Campos of Cordillera del Fuego, and we're going to see how it turns out. We've already done the sorting and the grading of the green, and now we're going to roast the sample. So in order to do that, we're going to start off by turning on our scale, and we're going to measure out 100 grams of coffee. In order to roast this, we're going to use a sample roaster, and basically what we have here at Spro is the Quest M3, which is a tabletop electric drum roaster that is made in Taiwan and is really a great little roaster. So we're going to turn that on, and it's a real simple operation. There's this big round knob here, you turn that, and what that does, it basically turns on the heating elements as well as works as a timer. So it actually will time out and turn off. So if you forget all about it, it will shut off. So we're going to first turn on the airflow and let that go at full all the way to the right. And then the next one is the amp meter. We're going to turn that on to full as well to heat up the cycle. So as you can see, the amp meter is now on and is full, and we're going to be heating up the drum. We want to turn on the temperature probe. The temperature gauge. We've got the temperature probe running into the drum, and we will now be able to see the internal temperature of the roaster. Now there's many ways of doing sample roasting, but it is great to have kind of a purpose-built roaster to do that with. Now this particular one is really designed as kind of a home machine that's for a really serious home user. It's got a lot of functionality. It's got a little bit more controls than your typical home roaster. A lot of the home roasters you'll see are kind of these air popping kind of roasters that are just basically like a popcorn popper that have hot air blowing through it. And you really don't control anything other than just turning it on and let it get hot. And so you really don't have much control over the roast profile. Where this one, the Quest M3, you can control the temperature via the amount of amperage you're giving the heating element. You can also control the amount of airflow that you're flowing through the drum. And it's really quite a capable roaster. And while it's not directly translatable from this size roaster to the big production roasters, there's a lot of similarity, and you can kind of take a very similar approach using the Quest M3. Some of the real popular types of sample roasters are made by these German companies, Probat, and then there's also a very old one called Jabitz Burns, or maybe Jabitz Burns. Those are great roasters that come in single, 2, or 4 gang configuration. What that really does, it allows you to roast multiple samples of coffee at one time, really just reducing the amount of work that you have to do in one day. So for example, if I only have this roaster and I need to roast 10 samples, that's going to take a considerable long amount of time than if I had a 4-group Probat sample roaster, because then I could just have it done like that. What we're going to do today is we're going to heat up the roaster to about 200 degrees and then add the coffee. In the last video we talked about Arabica green and roast and grading sheet, and this is a really great tool that we use here at Spro to just give us all the information that we need about the coffee that we're sampling on one sheet instead of having multiple sheets. So for the roasting section, we're going to be using this middle part that says roasted coffee. So what we need to do is we need to take our roast date, sample size, roasted by, and then we even notate what kind of roaster we're using. So let's do that. So today's roast date, sample size is 100 grams, and we got that all filled out. Also what you can notice, there's charge temp, start time, and temperature time, the ambient temperature, the air, gas, yellow, first crack, humidity, and barometric pressure. We can also check if there's any roast notes, any kind of Quakers that we might see, as well as Agtron readings if we want to do that. Now you can see already that this form has been as we've been filling it out, is getting all the data that we're going to be needing to make our decisions regarding this coffee. So we're right at 200. So our charge temp is going to be 200, 1, 2, and 2. What we want to do now is to add the coffee. We're going to use a little filter, a funnel, to get the coffee in there, and then just add it in. So we're starting at 205 degrees, as you can see on the... We're going to start our timer, and that's going to let us monitor the time. So we're at 205. All right, so now we're just rolling along. We recorded our charge temperature of 205 Celsius. Start time is about 13 minutes after 2. And we're just going to watch the coffee roast. What we want to do also is turn back the flame, technically the flame, come back a little bit. We're going to pull it to right about there. As you can see on the temperature gauge, we're at about 142, so it has dived down from 205 to 142, and it's kind of hovering there. That looks like it's going to be our turning point. We're waiting for it to start to come up. We've got a minute and a half or so. Yeah, now I'm at 143. There we go. Minute and a half, 143. That's going to be what we call our turn at 1 minute 35 seconds. One of the nice things about the Quest is that you can actually, they have a trier, which allows you to take a sample from inside the barrel of the coffee. So yes, you can see now the coffee is starting to change color. It's at the yellowing phase, and we're about 3 minutes and 12 seconds, which is 169 degrees. It's a little bit fast, so what we might want to do is we might actually turn back the temperature, the heat, to amperage just slightly. There we are, that's a little bit better. So if you're enjoying this series on green coffee buying, be sure to hit the like button and even give it a little thought about subscribing. We've also got a bunch of other videos here on our Spro Coffee channel, as well as on my personal channel, Ono Coffee. So you can check those out and see more about coffee content and everything that we're doing. Also, we've got coffee for sale. So if you like coffee and you want to try some great coffee that we sell here at Spro, be sure to check out our website, sprocoffee.com. And you can even get a 10% discount by subscribing to our coffee subscription program. And that allows you to choose any amount of coffee that you want and any kind of frequency schedule that you'd like. So you can do it weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly, even monthly. And we even give you 10% off on your subscription, so you get to save a little money while also getting great coffee at home. Be sure to check that out, sprocoffee.com, blah, 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 blah. Now, if we look carefully, we're going to see some coloration change. Now it's starting to get towards the browner side. Yeah. Now we're starting to hear some popping, which is a little bit fast, because we're only running right about 629, so a little bit fast. That means we're almost done, actually. For cupping roasts, I'm going to do a pretty light roast, so just as we're getting the first crack, that's when we're going to drop the roast. We're rolling about 750. We're getting some popping, but nothing really rolling yet. So as you can see, the temperature has kind of slowed down, so we're getting a little bit of that stall. So as you're roasting coffee, while it's maintaining momentum, there is a bit of a stall at some point where it kind of flutters, and it's really just absorbing more of the heat, and then finally it will start to rise again. We're rolling right about 9 minutes now. We're just starting to get some popping, which is good. I'm calling it. Alright, so once it drops like this, we're going to put it in here on the cooling chamber, which is up here on top. And then the airflow's pulling it through the beans to cool down the roaster, or to cool down the beans. So as the coffee's cooling now, so that's pretty much it. There it is. Okay, so one of the last things we need to do is to do a weight measurement of the coffee itself. So now we're going to take the coffee that we've roasted. Here we are. This beautiful Termico coffee. We're going to put it on the scale after we've tared it, of course. And now we have 85.5 grams. So 85.5 grams means that we have 14.5% weight loss. How do we know that? We're taking our 85.5 grams left and dividing that by the amount of coffee that we started with, which is 100 grams, which gives us 14.5%. Now that we've got the roasted coffee all ready to go, it's time to cup the coffee and see how it tastes. But we're going to have to wait till tomorrow because it's best to left it to kind of, stabilize and air out for a night. Although you can and cup it right away. We could cup it right this very moment, but for this purposes, we're going to let it sit overnight, develop just a little bit, and then it'll be much better for cupping and evaluation in the morning. So, come back to the next video. We'll see you then.